All right, so first we're going to be talking about the Bass method, which is also known as the circular brushing method. This method is widely accepted as an effective method for dental biofilm removal adjacent to and directly beneath the gingival margin, and that is really important to note for this method. And then its purpose is also made for open embrasures, cervical areas, and exposed root surfaces. In order to successfully demonstrate this method, we will want to direct the filaments apically at a 45-degree angle to the long axis of the tooth. So just to demonstrate that really quick on the maxillary, this is going to be at 90 degrees. And so for the Bass method, we will want to make sure that our toothbrush is angled and the filaments are going towards and up into the sulcus at a 45 degree. And then for the mandible, we are going to want to make sure here's 90 degrees. We're going to want to make sure our filaments are directed at a 45-degree angle going down into the sulcus. And then our strokes are going to be short vibrating strokes. So let's start with the maxillary arch. The mandibular arch. And then for lingual, you'll want to make sure that you're at that 45-degree angle still, facing down towards the sulcus. And then for the maxillary, kind of hard to see, 45-degree angle going into the maxillary, short strokes. One of the main limitations for the Bass method would be caused by an overeager brusher who might convert the short strokes into a vigorous scrub, which can cause damage to and injury to the gingival margin. Next, we are going to be talking about the Stillman and the modified Stillman methods. The purpose of the Stillman methods is designed for massage and stimulation, as well as cleaning the cervical areas. When you're brushing, you will want to place the filaments partly into the gingiva and partly on the cervical areas of the tooth, and direct them slightly apical while using a vibratory stroke. So let's start with the Stillman method. And now we're going to talk about the modified Stillman method, which is exactly the same as the original Stillman method, but we will want to add a rolling stroke of the toothbrush head after the vibratory stroke. So it'll look like this. Some limitations of these methods would be due to too much pressure while brushing, which can cause laceration to the gingiva, and also someone might try to do the rolling stroke action too quickly, skipping the vibratory stroke, which could lead to ineffective biofilm removal. So the next method is the Charter's method. The purpose of the Charter's method is for interproximal brushing. Charter himself taught that interproximal brushing and gingival massaging can help with stimulation to loosen biofilm and debris. Unlike the Stillman's method, the angle of the brush filaments are pointed at a 45-degree angle up towards the occlusal plane of the tooth while using a vibratory stroke. So, for example, the Stillman's is like this, where the Charters is going, the brush filaments are pointing towards the occlusal surface of the teeth. So for the mandible, Stillman's is like this, where Charters is pointing the filaments towards the occlusal plane of the teeth. A limitation to the Charters method would be due to the fact that the filament ends do not engage with the gingival sulcus to help remove subgingival bacteria. Next is the roll or the rolling stroke method. The purpose of this method is to clean the gingiva, removing biofilm and debris from the teeth without emphasis on the gingival sulcus. That's an important part of this method. This method is primarily meant for children with relatively healthy gingiva. For the maxillary arch, you will want to place the filaments apically up and towards the sulcus, and then down for the mandibular arch while rolling the brush head slowly over the teeth. So for the maxillary, this is parallel. We'll start with the filaments up and then slowly roll, make sure the filaments are up and roll. And for the mandibular arch, we will start down, roll slowly, roll slowly, a limitation of this method would be if someone placed the toothbrush head and or filaments too high during initial placement. This could cause laceration to the gingiva. So the phones, or also known as the circular method, its purpose is to provide a quicker technique for brushing your teeth. You will want to have your teeth closed when using this technique, and then place the brush inside of the cheek and use a fast, wide circular motion like this. So the teeth are close together. Fast, wide circular motion. A limitation of this method would be directed towards aggressive adult toothbrushers. This method is the horizontal, or also known as the scrub method. This method implements an unlimited sweep with a horizontal scrubbing motion that looks like this. Unfortunately, there are a lot of limitations when it comes to this method, but the main limitation is due to the fact that the interdental areas are not touched by this method, and biofilm can remain undisturbed interproximally. So our last method is the Leonard's, or also known as the vertical method. The purpose of this method is to use up and down strokes. This method could be a good method to help children who are just learning how to brush their teeth. And this is what it looks like. So up and down on each tooth, up and down, up and down, up and down. Up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. Just like the horizontal method, a limitation to this method would be due to the fact that the inner dental areas are not touched, and biofilm can remain undisturbed interproximally.